Brought to you by Tenna Controls, lighting kits, soundboards, and more. Tenna Controls brings your models to life. Well, hi there again, everybody. Welcome to episode 72 of the Model Shop. I'm your host, Boyd Crompton, coming to you again live again this week from our shop here in San Antonio, Texas. Had a busy week working on some models. Got a lot to show you guys tonight. We're going to kick things off tonight first with a out-of-the-box kit review of the Monogram Models 124 scale Shelby Mustang GT 350R, one of the kits that I picked up at the fantastic Fiesta 35 model show that I went to last week. We picked up a couple more kits, and we'll be showing you those a little bit down the road as we go on to further episodes. I can't believe we're already up to number 72. We've really been cranking these things out, and it's great to be with you guys again tonight. We've got a brand new slideshow to share with you guys tonight from our submitted by our viewers, all the beautiful models that they've been building, and I want to share those with you guys tonight, so that'll be fun. And then we've got a update on the Blue Thunder. I've been working on that one a little bit this week. I got a lot of the detail work done on the cockpit, so things are getting close now where I'll be able to seal up the fuselage and move on from there and add all the rest of the exterior detail parts, so that'll be a big step. And then tonight we've got a new segment that we're going to be sharing with you guys from time to time. It's called From the Archives. This is some older video footage that some of you guys might not have seen. It's basically a paint detailing guide for doing weathering on military models. I built a 172 scale German U-boat a while back, and it was actually done on the sister channel, the Scale Model Action Show, that I really don't really operate that channel anymore, but some of you guys may not have seen that video, and it's a really nice little guide for using acrylic oil paints and artist chalk and some airbrushing to do weathering on your models. And we'll present that for you guys tonight. We have part 1 of that tonight. We'll show part 2 next week, because it runs a little bit long. We didn't want to have it take up too much time. And then, of course, we'll come back at the end tonight with our usual Q&A and our shout-outs for tonight and see what everybody's talking about and get some updates on what everybody's been working on the last couple of days. So, great show in store, guys. We're going to take a break real quick, and we'll come back first with the out-of-the-box kit review on the Monogram Shelby Mustang. That's a great kit. It's a vintage kit, and I think you guys will like it. So we'll see you with that in just a few seconds, everybody. Stand by. Well, it's time for another out-of-the-box model kit review for you guys. This is one that I picked up at the Fiesta 35 show last week. This is a great little find. I found this 124 scale 1965 Mustang Shelby GT 350R. The R designation there at the end means this is the race version, which the car came from Shelby with some modifications to make it basically ready for the track if you wanted to buy one like this. And I built this kit a long time ago and was really happy with it back then, and I'm really glad that I found another one of these. And again, the price was right, 10 bucks on this kit. Got a great deal on all three of those kits. We'll be doing reviews on the rest of those here upcoming in shows in the future, but we thought we'd show you this one here tonight. I'm going to actually start working on this one fairly soon. You can see the nice pictures here of the box art. You can see the detail of the model. It's a beautiful representation of the 65 350R. You've got the accurate engine detail in here with the Shelby installed racing air filter and the cross bracing that they put in the shock towers here to make the front end a lot stiffer. It has the race exhaust on it, and of course the iconic Shelby paint job, the white with the blue stripes, the blocked out side scoops on the roof and everything. So this is a really cool kit. It's got the correct American wheels on it, minus the center caps like Shelby did on these particular cars. So we'll go ahead and take a look at everything here. We'll start off with the body. You can see it's molded really nice. This one doesn't have any swirl marks or anything at all in it. It's really clean. I've been doing a little bit of preliminary work on it here to make it correct for the Shelby. The Mustang emblem that was right here on the front fender has been sanded off, and also the 289 V8 emblem that's on the front of the fender here has been sanded off, since we don't see that on the Shelby version of this car. And so we got that all cleaned up. That's pretty much all that needs to be done on the body here. We'll just sand the rest of that smooth and get this all primed up and ready to go once we get to that next step. Here you can see we've got the nice chrome tree here. You've got the option on this one of having the stock type valve covers or the Shelby Cobra valve covers, which we'll of course be using those. You've got the, like I mentioned, the Shelby racing type air intake on this, which is an open element type system. Got the Shelby grill here with the nice wire mesh instead of the horizontal bars that we're used to seeing on the front of a stock Mustang. The unique racing oil pan here, the oil cooler, which goes down into the front of the modified front valance underneath of the grill. Got the nice taillights here. Got a big oversized Holley carburetor, 4-speed shifter. Got the interior mirror, the fuel cap in the back, the alternator. Interestingly enough on this kit too is they give you both instrument clusters, the stock Mustang unit and the Shelby unit. I think this is the Shelby unit over here and I have it backwards. This is the stock Mustang unit over here, so you get both. Got the part of the exhaust here, got the chassis stiffener up here in the front that goes in the front end to support those shock towers. So a lot of nice little details there. You get two sets of tires with this kit, the wider and the narrower. I went with the stock type tires. I've already been working on these. You can see here I've got my wheels already done. I've got the centers done in the sort of magnesium and then the polished, more chrome looking edges on those, and I've got these centers all sanded down and everything to make them look like they're used a little bit. So just a little bit of work on the tires there. Get all these out. This is right on top, so we'll show you the glass. Now here's you can see this glass has been kind of sliding around in this kit for quite a while now. It's an old kit, and you can see it's all scuffed up and scraped up and everything. So that little polishing compound that we use all the time here in the shop is going to come in really handy for that, because we'll buff that right out and get rid of all those scratches and be able to save that glass. You've got the two little headlight lenses here, which is always nice when they mold those in clear. And we'll pull out the big bags of sprues. Here is the hood with the correct Shelby hood scoop on that. And the nice thing on this kit is they give you nice little hinges in here, which I just kind of did a little test fitting on this the other day and just kind of stuck it on there, and it fits really beautiful. It lays down nice and flat. It opens nice and smooth, so we'll have a nice opening hood on this. You can kind of prop it up like that and have it so where it's you can look in the engine. So that's cool instead of just having to take the hood completely off. So there's a nice another little touch. Here we've got the first sprue that we'll bring out, and we have some really nice detail on the chassis and everything. You got the full detail on the front suspension with the lower control arms, the coilover shock springs that were on the McPherson strut. I'm sorry, the shock tower that we saw type front suspension on the early Mustangs. McPherson struts came along quite a bit later. But the nice detailed front end. We've got the engine block here. This is a 289 cubic inch engine, but don't be fooled by the size. That engine was really heavily modified for the Shelby Racing Mustang, and I think it had something like a 8,500 RPM red line, so that's incredible for a V8 back in that day. And it just really was set up to pull really hard all through the gears, and it had a really close ratio transmission and differential in the back of the car, so it was a really strong performer. Like I said, meant to go to the track right away. Got the Ford 9-inch rear end in the car with the factory leaf springs here. Drive shaft already molded onto that. We've got the next sprue here, which is the you see we've got our interior bucket here, which is nicely detailed. Got the clutch, brake, and gas pedal already molded into the floor. We've got the correct type Shelby door panels in this. There's a extra part that we'll show you in a second that covers up the rear seat area here. So you had like the Shelby had carried the spare tire here in the back part of the car, kind of a rally type setup, and we have a factory roll bar that goes in here. Got your choice of a racing bucket seat or the factory seats here, which we'll be using the factory seats. That's the way that they came in the Shelby cars. The nice classic Mustang sort of split dash here, the lower valance, which is the stock piece, the rear valance, and then the roll bar here, water pump here in this location. Here we can see we have the next sprue, which shows you the got the Shelby steering wheel here, nicely detailed, and here's our little spare tire I talked about that goes in the little hatch area. This extra piece here is included to do that work there in the back and have the Shelby type rear setup there. Got looks like 2 shifters here. I'm not sure where they've got those in there, but we've also got the chrome one on the chrome tree. We've got some more parts of the roll bar here. Again, I mentioned you get the stock type valve covers, optional. Here's our side louver covers that are correct for the Shelby. Some optional side scoops for the body here. They give you a lot of detail on this kit. Here's a really nifty little gauge cluster that goes on the dash, which was optional. They call it a rally pack on the early Mustangs. It included a I don't know if it was a tachometer. I can't remember for sure what that was, and maybe a oil pressure gauge or something like that. We've got the here we have in the blocked out fuel cap here in the back. Since I think I'm not sure they fueled these cars up, if they filled it in the stock location or what that was on these cars. I'd have to research that a little bit, but something a little bit different. And here we have the final sprue. A little bit of flash on this sprue, but nothing bad at all. It's not getting into the parts at all. We have the cylinder heads. Here we have the stock side louvers for the roof there. We've got our belts here. We've got a nicely detailed distributor fan blade here. The inner wheels, the chassis, which you can see is all molded in one piece. The early Mustangs had a subframe on those. The correct Shelby tri-Y headers that were on the Shelby Race Mustang. The upper radiator hose, the Shelby intake manifold, rear shock absorbers. So there's a lot of detail in this kit, and again, can't go wrong here for 10 bucks. I'm really, really happy with that. It'll build out to a really beautiful model. Now here we have the, let me show you these last 2 parts here that are loose in the bag. Here we have the modified front valance panel, which serves as an air intake for the oil cooler. You can see it's radically different than it is on a standard Mustang, which gives that Shelby, really unique Shelby look to it. And we have the nice racing stripes that come down here and, you know, extended to this area here. We're going to actually paint on all the stripes on this model. You can see here on the decal set that you get all the stripes and everything included, but unfortunately this sheet was laying in the box for a long time, and it was, you can see it here, it was stuck to the instruction sheet, and that caused a problem here. When I took it out of the box, it tore away some of the coloring, but fortunately the most critical stripes here, the ones that are down on the bottom on the rocker panels that have the GT350 logo, didn't get harmed at all. So we're gonna you know, do the painting of all the stripes that go over the body and everything, so that's not a problem. We'll just add these in on the bottom. I'm not going to use any of these racing numbers or anything. I don't know if I'll use any of these you know, sponsor decals or not, but So you know, at least that we get these here, that was kind of critical, because that'd be really, really hard to do without that. So that's that. Now let's take a look at the instruction sheet here. And starting off on the front page here, you're basically, they're having you put the glass into the body first, so you're assuming that the body's already all been painted and everything. The interior rear view mirror goes in at that point too. The Shelby has a really unique rear glass in it too, and something that they did specifically is that on a stock Mustang, the glass is all the way flush all the way across here. Well, on the Shelby, the race version, they actually, and it might have been on the standard Shelby too, I'm not sure, but the glass was actually lowered here at the top, and it was there was an open area here so that the air pressure inside the cockpit when you were racing with the windows down could actually exit the rear of the car here. So it was kind of a really nifty design, and it served to actually act as a sort of a wind tunnel that pushed down on the back of the car, believe it or not, and helped keep the rear of the car stuck down to the track without the aid of a rear spoiler. So it was really ingenious little thing that they did on the Shelby cars, and that's what made Carroll Shelby so special. He was always coming up with interesting things like that. So we move on from the interior detail, or I'm sorry, gluing in the glass, then we're starting to work on some of the exterior stuff of the body. Here you got the option of using the Shelby type sail panel covers or the louvers. You got the standard Mustang taillights, which it wasn't until a few years later that they actually started putting different taillights in the Shelbys than the standard Mustangs, I think starting in '67. So then we move on to the interior detail. Here you can see the option. You've got the Shelby steering wheel, you've got the shifters, different type of shifters you can use, the instrument clusters, and then we've got this rear shelf here they call the tire shelf that goes over the lower part of the seat. So you get your spare tire placed there in the back for the race version. I guess they're calling this racing seat. I'm going to go look and see what the race Mustangs looked like that year. If they had the, I'd rather use the stock seats. I think they look better, but we'll see what we're going to do with that. We want to put whichever way is correct. But we've got the roll bar here in the back with the fire extinguisher mounted onto that. Then we're installing the interior bucket inside, and then we're going to the assembly of the engine, which is always pretty straightforward. You're just gluing the two block halves together, you know, cleaning up that seam, and then installing the heads, the intake manifold, and then you've got that really slick dry sump, extended sump on the oil pan there, a separate starter, which is a nice little detail, the distributor, like we said, then on to the water pump, belt, alternator, then on goes the tri-Y headers, and then our lower suspension, rear suspension, then we've got our Shelby exhaust system, shock absorbers, the engine goes in next, got the spring shocks that go in the shock towers up here up front, and then we've got our tires and wheels going together and getting mounted onto the body, and then we wind up here with the rear valance going on at the rear, and we've got the shock brace, the shock tower here, and the master cylinder, the radiator and core support going on, and then finally the grille, headlights, and lower valance, and you got your choice of the valance that you want to use there. Interesting, they give you the stock valance, but they don't give you the chrome stock Mustang bumper to go with that, so you're pretty much stuck using the Shelby front lower valance, which didn't have a chrome bumper on it. It had a couple little air intakes on it and had the turn signals on the very end. And then you've got your choice of the air cleaners. You get the stock type unit or the Shelby open filter or open element type. So then at the very end you've got your what they call the Monte Carlo bar. That's the stiffener that goes in the front, and the hood going on, and then of course finishing up with all your decals. So very straightforward on the build, but again, I remember this kit from years ago, and as soon as I saw it at the show there, I just had to have it, especially since it was so cheap. It's a beautiful kit. It's a really accurate version of the 65 race Mustang. It could be a 66, I'm not sure. Somebody might be able to check me on that. It's either a 65 or 66, but we're going to paint this up and make it look real nice. Going to do our nice clear coat and everything on it, and have a nice replica of a early Shelby Mustang when we're done. Again, we've got these tires all worked out. We'll be putting some dull coat on those before we finish with that. A little bit of paint detail here and there. Do the wheel lug nuts and everything. But that's a look at the early vintage Monogram 1/24 scale 66 Shelby GT 350R. And again, like most of these kits that I'm showing you guys here, you can still find these. It was the only one that I saw at the model show, but you go online and look for these on eBay or other places, I'm sure you can readily find this kit. There are a couple of different versions of it out there too. I think Revell did one and a couple other people. But I really like the Monogram, early Monogram kits. They were known for fitting really, really well. The quality of the detail was really good. And as you can see here, this is a great little kit overall, especially if you're a Mustang guy and you're familiar with the early Mustangs. And so it's a really nice representation. You even get the decal, which I forgot to show you, of the race version here, where they would put tape over the headlights to keep them from getting shattered during a race, you know, from a rock hitting them or something like that. So that's even there. But we're going to look forward to building this one up, guys. We've also got a couple more kits that we picked up. We have the 67 Plymouth GTX Hemi, and then we've got the 71 Plymouth GTX that we also picked up at the show. And in the upcoming episodes here, we'll give you an out-of-the-box kit review on those. We've got a lot of kits we're going to be doing reviews on, continuing on with the show here, guys. So I hope you enjoyed that. And if you're a fan of the Mustang, definitely get you one of these kits. You'll really be glad you did and have a lot of fun building it. Okay, guys, back with the next segment here in just a second. We'll see you with that after we take a quick break. Okay, guys, back with you again. Well, I hope you enjoyed the out-of-the-box kit review on the Shelby Mustang. I'm really looking forward to building that one up. It's a beautiful little model kit. And again, can't beat the price. That's why it's always good to go check out those model shows, guys. You can get some great deals there. If you happen to have one in your area, do yourself a favor and go check it out. Take your kids with you. Maybe they'll get inspired to build some models after they see all the beautiful models on display, and you all have a good time. Okay, guys, well, time for one of our favorite segments on the show. That's our Viewers Models Slideshow. We got some great submissions coming in over the last couple weeks. We really appreciate everybody taking the time to share those with us, and it's a fan favorite here on the show. So let's kick that off. Sit back and enjoy, guys, and we'll be back after that with a update on the Blue Thunder build. See you with that after the slideshow, guys. Enjoy. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. A big round of applause to all the modelers that submitted the pictures. Wonderful work on the models, guys. Thanks so much for submitting them. And a big hats off to young Max Redinger. His dad wrote to me and said how proud he was of finishing up his very first model kit. And here's to seeing you building many more models in your future, Max. Great job on your Batman, and we really appreciate you sharing that with us. Okay, guys, we're going to take a quick break now again, and we're going to come back right after that, and we're going to go back and do our update on our Blue Thunder build. I've been making a little bit of progress, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show. Got a little bit of work done on the cockpit, and I wanted to say thanks again to Bill Tilley, who a couple of months ago posted some really great pictures of the actual real Blue Thunder on our Model Shop Google page, which allowed me to go back and find some really nice, clear pictures of how the interior is supposed to look and a lot of the detail on the model, and we're trying to replicate that as best as we can on our build. So thanks again for doing that, Bill. Appreciate that. Okay, guys, back again right after the break. All right, everyone. Well, up first for tonight, we're going to give you a quick update on our Blue Thunder project. I've been working on this one a little bit. Finally got some time to work on it this week, and got the cockpit pretty much finished up. The only thing I still need to do here is add my little computer screen on our monitor here, which I'll be gluing in from the back side, a little piece of clear that I'll paint black, and I'm going to leave a couple little lines there like I mentioned, and we'll be lighting that with a little green LED to give that little kind of old school green computer readout there. But what I've been doing is I've been referencing the pictures that Bill Tilley posted over on our Model Shop Google page about a month and a half or 2 months ago, and to make sure I got the colors right and everything. The interior of this thing is basically gray with these sort of really drab light green seat cushions, and then this sort of padding that's on the back wall here is also done on this kind of drab green. I've got my monitor up here, and you can see the color there that we're talking about on the seat cushions and on the back wall there. And then we've got some of the detail done on the back panel here. I'm going to put a couple of still pictures in this here so you can see that, but we've got that paneling done there, and we've got the keyboard here on the situational awareness position there, the officer in the back, and then we've got the really nice detail done here on the flight console. You can see the instruments and everything there. This thing wasn't all black, as you can see here. I'll scroll up on this other picture here, and you can see basically what the instrument panel look like. It's not, the kit's not completely accurate. That big screen there in the middle, which is sort of a readout, is not present here. But we have sort of part of that, and we kind of follow the theme there of having the, the gray dash and then the black trim around the some of the instruments, and just kind of followed along with that. So, and then you can see there in that shot there a little bit more of that drab green color, which is what we see on the interior walls of the cockpit. So I'll be painting the interior walls that color. So we're trying to, keep this capture some of the details there and keep it fairly accurate. The nice thing that I've got here, guys, is I've got our good friend Eric Hawkins sent me this little 1/32 scale pilot figure. Now, unfortunately, I had to lop off his lower half of his legs there to make him fit, but that's okay because you won't be able to see that once he's down in the cockpit here. But he fits in the seat really good. He's got the correct type of a helmet with the sort of drop-down little visor there that we saw, and then his arms. I think I should be able to position them fairly well where it position them fairly well where you can see here where it's going to look like he's holding onto the stick with his right arm and then his left arm on the collector here on the other side. So that's great, and thanks so much for sending that to us, Eric. I really appreciate that. That's going to make our cockpit detail a lot better. So I'm really happy with that. So not a whole lot to show you on this, guys. I had a lot of other work to do this week, but I did manage to get this done. And like I said, we're going to be doing our lighting here at the monitor, get this all mounted inside and everything, get it all secured in there, and then we can move on with getting the rotor assembly put together, and then we should be able to be pretty close to being able to close up the two halves of the fuselage, which will be a big step, because that's then we've got to do the seam work all the way around that, and then we can start working on all the exterior detail. We'll do the canopy and everything at the very end, and it should come together pretty good. I'm going to be, like I said, mounting this on one of our Polar Lights bases, which I've got to order one of those. I don't have one here right now, and so we want to make this look like it's in flight, and we can install our switch into that, and our I haven't decided if I'm going to do sounds on this one or not yet. I might, but we can always put that in the base if we decide to, and then we can hook up our power supply and have our nice lighting and everything going on with our strobe lights and everything. So this is going to be really cool. So just a nice quick update on this one for you guys. It's coming along really nice. I should be able to work on it a little bit more before next week's show. So there you go, guys. But we got the colors looking really good. I mixed up these colors myself. I just started off with a little bit of this is just a medium sort of gray here, and then to make this drab green, I just started off with a gray, and then I just started dropping in a little bit of light brown and a little bit of like one drop of green, and it gave me the color I wanted. So I'm also looking for, on the back wall there's supposed to be a fire extinguisher mount right there. So I'm looking through my old NASCAR models and stuff and see if I can find I probably have a fire extinguisher laying around, and I'll get that painted up and mount that on the wall there to add a little bit more detail and stuff. So that's it, guys. We'll get our pilot painted up really nice. I'm going to go back and look at how, what Roy Scheider looked like. Again, I'm representing this as the end scene where he's flying the helicopter by himself. I don't have the, I'm not going to put the guy in the back, because I think that would block a lot of the detail in there too. We won't be able to see it as good. So that's my reasoning behind that. But she's coming together real good, guys. So hope you enjoyed our little update. I know you guys have been asking about it, so it's looking real good. Okay, guys, back for another quick break here, and we're going to come back and do our painting tips for tonight, doing some weathering. It's a new little segment I'm going to be having on the show from time to time called From the Archives. It's from back when I did the work on the 1/72 scale German U-boat. I actually did that on a different channel over on the Scale Model Action channel, and some of you guys might not have seen it, and some of you guys that are new to our show here will get a chance to see that for the first time. And it's basically some painting tips for doing the weathering that you see on a lot of military models, and on our submarine we wanted to have it look kind of rusty and worn, like it's been out in the salt water for a long time. And we used some of our acrylic oil paints and some modeler's chalk and some airbrushing techniques to give us the weathering look on that. So we'll take you through that when we come back, guys. Stand by, I'll be right back. Okay guys, back with you for some more of our U-boat buildup, and you can see that we've made a lot of progress here. We've assembled the two halves of the hull, we laid down our adhesion promoter, and then we primed this, and we've put down our basic hull colors here. We started off with a dark gray on the lower hull and a lighter medium gray on the upper hull and a darker gray up on the decking. And we've started to add in layers of weathering now. Now we explained a little bit of how we were doing this the other night on the Model Shop Guys show, but we're going to take you through this here a little bit. As I mentioned, we started off with a dark gray on the bottom, and then we started using our airbrush using 3 or 4 different colors of gray, and we went in and we started making these vertical streaks up and down, just overlapping and varying in size and width and things like that. So what we got there is a washed, weathered kind of look, like a ship would be like this that was out at sea in the salt water for several months. And then we came back over top of that with some a black wash using this Createx acrylic water-based paint here, just mixing it up with a diluted solution of water and a couple drops of Dawn dishwashing liquid to break the surface tension on that and make it spread around a little bit easier. And we just brushed it on all over the model, let it dry a little bit, wiped it off, and that left all the highlights. You can see some of that streaking and highlighted effects here more prominently on the conning tower. And then we started doing this rust technique, guys, and this is really cool. We're using these oil-based paints here, primarily these two colors here, which are burnt sienna and yellow ochre. And what we're doing is we're just dabbing a slight little bit on here, on the upper part here, and then using some water to dilute it, just getting a wet brush and just dragging it down. And you can see that the result here really gives a realistic looking rust effect. And we did that all over on all of our panel lines here. You can see where we've got it like streaking down and laying on the bottom of the model there on the hull, down here by the propeller shafts, and all along the sides here. You can see that we followed our little rivet patterns there on the sides of the conning tower, and that just makes the model look so much more realistic, guys. It adds so much to this, and you can see it's got a really weathered, used look like a lot of military vehicles do. So this is turning out really, really cool. And what we're going to do now is we're going to start working on the decks here. We've got these, the aft and the foredeck here, which we haven't started our weathering on it yet, so I'm going to set the camera up on a tripod, and we're going to take you through our process of how we do this here. So sit back and enjoy that. We'll be right back with that, everybody. Alright, let's get started on our deck work here. Well, you can see, everyone, that these decks right now, they look pretty plain. As I mentioned, we just sprayed these down with some basic medium to dark gray to start with, and we've got to start layering on our weathering now. Well, the very first thing that I'm going to start doing here is use my airbrush. What I've got in here is I've got a little bit of light gray mixed up, my light to medium gray, and I'm just going to dust over this in a couple of spots just to add some color definition on this thing. To make it look like it's been washed and faded a little bit. And we don't want to overdo this. We're just going to spray on a little bit here and there, just to kind of highlight things, and go across and maybe back and forth in a few spots here. And it doesn't look like much right now, guys. You can barely see this, but it will really make a difference here when we start doing some work with the rest of our weathering techniques. Okay, and you can see it already did a little bit there and added a little bit of life to that. We're going to shut off our airbrush here now. Now what we want to do next is we're going to work with some of our oil paints here. We've got our burnt sienna and our yellow ochre here. We've got a little bit of water. We've got a couple brushes ready to go. We've got a broad brush for spreading it around, and we've got a small thin brush here to apply it. So first we're going to start off with our darker color here first, and you can see I'm just going to put a little dab of this down on my mat. A little bit of this stuff goes a long ways, and the very first thing we want to do is we want to kind of spread it out and make it a little bit flat here, so that when we're picking it up with our brush, we don't put a big glob on that. And then I'm just going to go through in certain spots here, and I'm just going to start putting this on where I want some rust to appear. And usually just kind of highlight it around objects and things like that that you know would catch and hold water, and then it would slowly run off and you'd get that rust effect going on. And we're just going to put it on various spots here on the decking. And we don't have to be super careful with this. Like I said, you'll see why in just a second here. Just kind of put it on in areas that we want to highlight. Around the hatches and things like that. Just little areas of detail. Okay, and you can see that we've got a basic couple blobs of this stuff on here and there, and it doesn't look like much right now, but let's start working with it here. We're going to dip our broad brush in some water, and then we're going to just start working this stuff around a little bit. And against this gray color, this burnt sienna lightens up when you spread it around and starts to look like more yellowish oxide, like rust looks. And you can see I'm just kind of spreading it around here, make it look like it's just been working its way across the decking here. Some areas that I want it to look a little bit more reddish, I just leave alone. I don't brush quite as hard. And you can see the effect that that has. You can just spread this stuff out. We want these little hatch covers here to remain kind of rusty, but we want a kind of a trail of rust around the edges of it, so I'll just kind of stay away from my original part here. And just spreading this stuff out. We're going to put a little more right there in the center. I see a couple little hatches that could use some detailing. And I'm kind of new to this myself, guys. I'm learning this, and I'm really having a lot of fun with it. I used the internet and some of the forums out there to go around and look and see how people were doing some of this work, and I found some excellent tutorials out there. Just type in weathering on YouTube in a search, and you'll find a lot of really cool stuff. A lot of it's mostly military models and guys that are doing car modeling that want to make old cars look really rusty and things like that, and some model railroaders out there too that do really excellent work with this that I've seen. So it's just a whole lot of fun. I started doing this and I've really gotten immersed into it. Really enjoying building up this submarine kit. And you can see as we start moving things around here, we kind of concentrate it in some areas, and then we just kind of start lightly dragging it over to other areas to make it sort of blend in and things like that. And I've got a little bit of water buildup on this, so I'm going to blow it off with some compressed air here, real lightly. Now I can take a look at it and see how it's going so far, and you can already see that we've got this nice rusting effect going here. We've got a little bit more concentrated up in the front where these details are, and you can see it kind of fades out here where we scrubbed on it a little bit more. We're going to go ahead and go with a little bit more on here, and we're going to do some of these things like these hatch covers, and sometimes you wash a little bit too much off and you just need to come back and pull a bit more and do it again. We want to kind of highlight some of these rivet patterns and things like that you know that rust would collect around areas like that. Anything that's raised, like you see on real objects. We just paint a nice little straight line along these rivets. And then when we brush over that, we'll get a nice effect. Okay, let's give it a little bit more wash here. Just going over this rivet line here. That already looks really good, guys. I really like how that works. Just so easy to blend in. And using this oil-based paint, you can, if you make a mistake, you can just simply wipe this off with a paper towel and start all over. And that's what I really like about this. And it does not attack your existing paint at all, so you don't have to worry about you know, upsetting your base coat and having that start to smear and streak in. That's another reason why I'm using water with this paint, guys. A lot of guys use what's called terpenol, which is a thinner for this oil-based paint, and I tried some of that and I just didn't like what it was doing. It was, like I said, if I wasn't really careful and I stayed working on a spot for too long, it would start working its way through my my base coat here and smearing the paint, so I didn't really like that too much. So I decided to try it with water, which is a neutral agent here. It won't attack my paint at all, and it's just working perfectly. It's breaking this stuff down and allowing me to move it around just exactly like I want and control it really well. So I'm very pleased with it. The process is working really, really nice. Now what we'll be doing on this also, guys, is to bring out some detail here. We're going to be doing a black wash on this so that we can get down in all these little nooks and crannies, this decking, and make the decking look more like it has more depth to it, and there's something real underneath of the lattice work here. But what we've got to do is we've got to get this rust coat on here first, and then we've got to dry this. We've got to seal it with some of our Tester's dull coat here, and then we can do our wash, because we don't want to start putting a lot of black on here with a lot of water. We'll just start smearing it and mixing with our rust, and we don't want to do that. So we have to seal in between these weathering techniques here, and that's how you go from one layer to the next with a seal in between. Okay, I'm liking how this looks, so what we're going to do now is we're going to dry it off again real quick. And we'll have a look in the camera here for you guys. You can see we're starting to get this spread out really nice. We've got a nice streak here going on the front. Might be a little bit stronger than I like it to be here, so we'll just go over it a little bit more. That will break it down a little bit more, make it look a little less bold, a little fainter. And there we go. Now to add some realism to this, what we want to do is we want to add another color in here. So now we're going to switch to our yellow ochre, which is a sort of a mustard yellow, dark mustard yellow color. Again, we're going to get this spread out here so it's nice and thin. And I'll use a paper towel to wipe the excess off my brush to start with. Now here we don't want to blob this around quite as much. We want to be a little bit more careful and a little bit more thoughtful about where we're putting this on, because this is kind of our highlight color, guys. So we're just going to dab a little bit here and there on these little objects, just to make the rust look like it has multiple stages to it. The more yellow stuff has been rusting harder, and the more red oxide looking stuff is more recent rust. It's pretty much how you can think of like real rust looking, like we're all used to. And just a little couple spots here and there. Put it towards the back so we kind of balance things out here a little bit. Put some around this hatch. It's grading work. And that's about it, I think, guys. So now we're going to go back to our wash technique again here. And we're just going to start spreading this stuff around. Just ever so slightly. Don't want to completely wash it away. Just lightly dragging my brush over the surface, guys, with my water. And I'm picking up just a thin amount on my brush here so I can take that and put it in other places where I want it, just to kind of blend it in. Just a little bit on the edges of the decking here. We got some areas that still look just plain gray, and we just want a real thin layer of oxide starting to happen on that. Salt water is really brutal. If you've ever owned a boat that operated in salt water, you'll know how hard it is to maintain it. It doesn't take long at all before it really starts attacking everything. So one of these U-boats that would be out to sea for several months would definitely be showing worse for wear when it returned to base. Okay, so you can see now that we've got a second color on here, and you can definitely see where it's showing up. We got a little bit right here. It's a little too strong there. I'm just taking that down just a little bit. But it's added it actually has added several colors to our weathering here. You can see that where it's on the very top, it's more of that light mustard yellow, and then it's mixed in sort of a tan and then a darker red, and it just kind of, as I said, as it dissolves together, it blends in, and it looks just like real rust and weathering and age. So it's just done by a natural process over time, and you can replicate that here with your oil-based paints. So we can see we've got a nice look going on there, guys. So what we're going to do now is we're going to dry this off real quick with our air again. Let's go ahead and clean up our excess paint here so we don't smear that all over. Cap our paints. And these little tubes will last you a long time, guys. I paid like $12 for I think there's 10 different colors in this little set that I got here, so it's really economical. It's really neat, and I'm really happy with the effect that it gives you. So we've got this dried off right now. We're going to use our heat gun real quick on this, just to absorb any moisture that might be in there. hiding in the crevices there. I'm keeping this heat gun several inches away. Like you can tell, this is thin plastic. It wouldn't take much to melt or distort this, so I'm being really careful. Heat gun set on low. And it doesn't take a whole lot. We just want to make sure we get all that moisture out of there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to seal this with our tester's dull coat, which is just a nice even coat here. And we'll give it a second, and then we're going to hit it with our heat gun here to dry it. Then we'll be able to do our black wash here, which I'm going to start getting that ready. My paint's a little bit thick here, so I'm going to dilute it a little bit. Now beforehand I dropped a couple of drops of Dawn dishwashing detergent in this stuff, and you might ask why we're doing that. Well, when you read a lot of these guides about doing this weathering and washes and things like that, people are recommending that you use that. What it does is it breaks the surface tension of the water, so it'll tend to stay and flow into areas that you want it to flow into rather than try to repel away from it like water does in its natural state. So that will help you spread this stuff around a little bit more. Let's go ahead and give this a dry now. Tell that we got a little bit thin up here on the front, so we're going to just give it a quick touch up. Make sure it's sealed really good. Now there'll be a few little details that will be gluing onto this. There are a couple little objects that go here, and then we've got some railing. We've got the little kind of sharp object, serrated edge here at the front that they use for cutting nets that we're going to mount on the model, and so we'll just be doing some airbrush touching up with that and some hand weathering on that once it's all attached. And you can see we've got this dry now and sealed up. So now we're just going to take our broad brush here and we're going to dip it in our black acrylic paint, and we're just going to spread this all over, not even having to be very careful, guys. You just want to make sure you kind of work it down in these recesses and things like that, all over the deck. We want to highlight these details. That's the purpose of this technique we're doing right now. Want to make sure it gets down inside that grating as much as possible. Very easy to do here, just using plenty of it. You don't have to skimp on this stuff. And this makes a really nice difference. You'll see when we show you the results here, guys. Just making sure I get it in all these little grates here. It's looking good. You can see it starting to work its way in there like magic. Just basically flooding these things. Really coming out nice. You can just literally see it working in front of you. Once you get this all on there, we just got to let it sit for a little bit here. And let the air start drying it up. And then we're going to take a towel here. Just an ordinary towel. One of these detailer's towels works good, and we're just going to start dabbing this off of here. I don't want to do it just yet, guys. I'm going to come back in just a second. We're going to have to take some time off the camera and let this dry, so we'll show you what the results are in just a few minutes. Okay, everybody, back we are with our final segment of the work that we're going to be doing on our U-boat kit today in this video. And you can see we've made some good progress, guys. We left you with the work that we're doing on the decks, and you can see we've installed the foredeck here and the mid deck. Those are actually glued down. You can see the result of the weathering work that we did. We started adding some of the superstructure here, the net cutting system, and the little part down below on the bottom of the underneath of the bow. And you can see I really like that. That's that classic silhouette that we always saw on these U-boats in the old World War II movies, and I really think that looks great. And here you can see some of the weathering that we've been doing. It's really turning out nice on the model. It's adding a lot of detail to this. Here you can see the weathering we've got on the side of the conning tower. And we're going to be making up some small little decals for the emblems that we saw on the Submarine from Das Boot. It's sort of a little swordfish looking guy up there, black with like a saw nose on it. Really a cool looking little logo, so we're going to put that on there as well. And you can see some more of our weathering here on the sides. The rear deck hasn't been glued down, guys, because we drilled two tiny little holes in the back, as the instructions tell you. We've got to run our thread up through there with some knots on the back side of that and leave them hanging. Those are going to be for some of the ship's rigging. It might be for the antenna, I'm not sure, but it runs from the rear up here to the conning tower, and then we go up here to another part on the front of the conning tower that goes down to our net cutter system here. And you can see we did the weathering around that too to make it kind of look like the rust was kind of leaking off the edges and stuff there from that structure. And I really, really like how this is working, guys. This weathering technique works really, really good on a model like this, and it just brings it to life. As you can see, it completely looks real. If you put it in some scale water where the waves were the right speed and everything and got a nice background, it would pass for the real thing. So I'm really, really happy with how it's looking. One of the things I'm going to mention that I ran into, and it was a real challenge while you were away, guys, is that we had this whole structure here. We found this in a million pieces in the bottom of the box, and basically the only thing that was intact were a couple of these little slat pieces here, the thicker wood parts, and I couldn't even find half the pieces. I'm kind of wondering if that's maybe why the guy sold this kit. I got this kit off of eBay. He might have thought he couldn't build it without that, but what we wound up doing here, guys, is after a little brainstorming, I used this magnet wire here, which is actually a pretty thick copper, and I just basically shaped almost this entire thing, guys. You can see one little segment there that hasn't been painted yet that I made, just going off the best that I could off the pictures of what the kit instructions look like, and then this box art, the pictures of the model on the box art, and I think I got it pretty nice. I'm really pleased. You can see a couple little spots in between the spokes where it's a little bit thicker than it should be, where I had to use some glue, but other than that, I'm really, really happy, and it's better than not having one at all. And I'm telling you guys, it was a lot of work. I was sitting here for about 3.5 hours cutting and precisely trying to put this little jigsaw puzzle together, and I'm really, really pleased that we were able to save that. The entire part back here, the antenna, everything was broken. The ship's bell was broken off. I had to put all that stuff back on there, guys. So it was really sad to see that. And after seeing that, I went and checked the rest of the kit's parts now really thoroughly, and it doesn't look like anything else is damaged or missing. So luckily we dodged a bullet there, guys. So okay, everybody, well, that's going to be a wrap for today's video. We had a great time working on our sub today despite that little challenge. But again, just kind of thinking about it a little bit and using what you've got at your disposal and a little time and patience, we were able to work our way around that, guys, and had fun doing a little bit of scratch building as well. So that's going to be it for this one. Thanks for checking it out, guys. We'll be back real soon with some more work on our U-boat kit here on the Scale Model Action channel. Appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you again next time. Until we do, take care and happy modeling, everyone. Okay, guys, back with you again. Well, I hope you enjoyed that from the archive section of doing some weathering paintwork on your military models, or you can do that on many different types of models. Like I mentioned there, you can do that on your, if you want to do some kind of rusty old car models and stuff like that. We'll show part 2 of that, where there'll be a little bit more weathering on with doing some rust and other types of using the acrylic paints and using some of the artist chalks on the rest of the hull for part 2 during next week's show. So I hope you'll check that out, and I hope that helps you guys out there that are starting to learn. I was just learning this stuff myself when I did that. I guess it was about 2 years ago now, and I've been learning more ever since then too. Like I said, there's a lot of instructional videos on YouTube you can check out from people that are really, really talented with that stuff. So it's nice to have all that information out there. Okay, guys, well, it's time to head over to our Q&A and our shout-outs for tonight. We'll see what you guys are all talking about, and call out everybody that's here with us tonight. Head on over to the page. Okay, guys, I'm going to scroll up to the top here, and let's see, we've got Brian Knowles with us tonight, John Petrie, SF Modeler, Murphy Peoples, Alpha Trion 92, Chuck Brooks is here tonight. Nice job on your skyline, Chuck. It turned out really nice. He put a lot of detail work into that. We were a couple of us guys were hanging out on Ubu the last couple of weeks, and he's been giving us little updates on that, and it's a lot of work that he put into that model. Great job on that, Chuck. Eric Hawkins is with us tonight. Thanks again, Eric, for sending in the pilot. We really appreciate that. We'll put him to good use. I'll have to start painting on him this week. Let's see, Gary M. is here tonight. 2000 SPQR. That's Calvin Sweet. Calvin had one of his models, the USS Cayuse, featured in our slideshow tonight. Nice job on that, Calvin. Mike Scarola, he had a couple models. Well, I'm sorry, I get him confused with Mike Kovac, but Mike Scarola's with us tonight. And there's Mike Kovac. He had a couple of his models on tonight. He had the General Lee and the beautiful Defiant that he did the internal lighting job on it to give it that glow-in-the-dark effect. It looked really, really cool. John Petrie's here tonight. And Ralph with Tenant Controls is here tonight. Nice to see you, Ralph. Mark Shue. George Volkowski. The Captain. And let's see, Super Dash Render is here tonight. Chris Farrell, Scott Hall. Christopher Baxley. Scott Hatchard's with us tonight. Aussie Trekkie. Scott had his beautiful Falcon XB. A lot of you guys might know that are Mad Max fans. That's the base car. The Falcon XB was actually customized, and that was the car that was used to create the beautiful Interceptor that we saw in the Mad Max films when they added some body flares and some other modifications and painted it all black and put the supercharger on there, which wasn't real, by the way, but it sure did look cool. And great job on that one, Scott. Chris Redinger is here tonight. I wanted to say again, wonderful job to your son Max there, Chris. So wonderful to see the young modelers getting involved, and like I said, hopefully you guys will be building a lot of models together, and he's got a great and bright modeling future ahead of him. He looked like he was really excited to show it in the picture there, and we were really happy to share it with everybody tonight. Let's see, we've got Dadnator 24. He's here with us tonight. Nice to see you. And Roger Ball is with us tonight as well. I've made it down to the list, guys. So if you're here with us in the audience, make sure you type something in our chat session here, so your name will pop up, and I'll give you a shout out. I've got James Kirk with us. I just saw him pop up, and go ahead and fire away if you guys have any questions there about anything we showed tonight, or either myself or some of the other modelers here can help you out with that. Just rolling back through this stuff, guys, see if I missed anything. Okay, I see. Let's see, a couple guys showed up here. We got Chris with Classic Plastic. Nice to see you, Chris. Been following along with Chris's. Chris has got a couple builds going on his channel. He's building the Rockford Files 78 Pontiac, and he's also, let me see, he's building a, I kind of forgot now. I think he's got 2 or 3 projects going at once, but don't forget to stop by Chris's channel and check out what he's got going on there. Let me see. I thought I saw a few other people pop in there. We got Shannon Freeman with us. Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Big Stats. Draw Dog and Rocket Boy 1969. Federation Shipyards, the Swedish Dr. Plastic, Jonathan Milbury, James Schulenberg, okay, somebody's asking a question about the brand of the oil paints that we use. Scott Hall's asking that for the U-boat build. Well, Scott, they were, I think they're just kind of generic brand. I picked them up at Hobby Lobby. If you have a Hobby Lobby or a Michaels, I'm sure they carry the same one. Let me see if I can find a brand name on these here for you. Masters Touch is the brand name. And again, it comes in this little set here. I believe there's 10 different ones. And with this combination of colors, you get black, white, yellow, kind of a more red oxide color, the burnt sienna, the yellow ochre, your basic red, blue, and a green. So with these colors, you can pretty much almost make any color you want by mixing them together and everything. And and we use, we've also got these other artist chalks that we use here, which is, I picked these up at the same place at Hobby Lobby. These are made by Generals. And you can see you've got all these sort of pastel colors in here. And as you'll see in part 2 of the U-boat weathering paintwork that we were doing, we used a little bit of that. And then recently, I picked up these. I'll grab these and show these to you guys. There's actual, the labels aren't on these anymore, but I picked these up at my local hobby store. These are actual powdered pigments that are meant to simulate rust, and they work really, really great. They're really concentrated though, so I mean it only takes a tiny little bit of that stuff to make a big old rust stain. So you can kind of mess around with them. You can use them dry, or you can use them with a little bit of water, and you can kind of dab it on your surface. Like if you wanted to make the rust look like really crusty, like say if you're want to do a rusty car, and you wanted to have like the bottom of the fenders, where they really collect a lot of rust, maybe you could, grind a couple holes in there and then dab that stuff around the edges of it with some water, and it'll make it look like that real crusty, thick rust that you're looking for. And you start off with the darker one here, then you kind of highlight over the top with this lighter stuff here, and you'll get that really realistic looking rust that you can stand back and it looks just like the real thing. So there's all kinds of stuff out there for doing that. And I've been really happy with all of it. But we used as you'll see in the second part of that video, there's I think 3 or 4 different techniques we use to kind of keep layering it on, and a little bit of airbrushing in between, and to do some shading and all that. So you guys will get to see the rest of that next week. Let's see, quite a few of these scrolled through really quick. See if I can catch back up with you guys here. Okay. James Kirk is asking about the definitive paint color scheme for the Defiant. I'm not sure if you mean the Defiant from the TOS series, or if you mean the Defiant that we saw in Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. If you're talking about the Deep Space Nine model, there's some really good reference pictures of that studio model that are online that you can look up, that shows the detail of the hull color and the various panels that were, different colors all over the model. They're a combination of different shades of gray, and they're actually kind of a light blue and medium blue color. And you can see some really, really good up-close detail shots in high definition of the paint scheme that was on that. Otherwise, if you're talking about the original Classic Series Defiant, it was the same exact paint scheme as on the Classic Enterprise. Christopher Baxley's asking about what color we're going to paint the Shelby. Well, we're going to paint it the same as it looks on the box. We're going to do the white with the blue stripes. I've already made up my paint colors. I actually had a little bit of the blue left over that I used, I guess last year when I built the Shelby Cobra kit that you see behind me, that Le Mans blue that I used on that. That's the correct color for the stripes. They would just flip-flop those colors, you know, on the Shelbys. They had either the white with the blue or the blue with the white, and you just basically flip-flop it. So we'll just flip-flop it on the Mustang and do the body in white and do the stripes in that metallic Le Mans blue, and that should get us pretty close. That should match up pretty well. The only decals I'm going to use are those rocker panel decals that I talked about that have the GT 350 on there, and that should match up with that pretty good. Now we've got Monogram Model Works with us here tonight. He just checked in. Nice to see you, Tag. JD also is checking in. We featured one of JD's models here tonight too on our slideshow. SF Modeler is asking, do I use the same clear coat sanding method on a car with a lot of decals like we did on the Petty Charger? Yep, DeWitt, that's exactly what I do. If I've got the decals laid down, what I'll do is I'll put a coat of clear down on the model, you know, my clear, and then I'll lay all the decals down on there and get them all settled down and dried up, and then I'll put probably 1 or 2 coats of clear over top of those, and then I'll wet sand to get rid of, you know, sometimes you can bury the decals really good with your first or second coat of clear and you won't see any edges on them at all. And you won't have to go any further. But what I'll usually do is I'll put a coat or 2 of clear on there and let it dry. And if I look at the model and I see any edges where the decal, you know, you can still see the edge of it, I'll wet sand it with like 1000 grit paper and just you know, get rid of those little edges, and then I'll clear coat it one more time. That's why it's important why I put my clear on there like in multiple layers, so I have enough where I can do that. I can do the buffing or the sanding and I won't go through it. And then when you get all finished up, when you look at the model, you won't see any edges on the decals or anything. It looks like everything's all been painted on there. You know, it all depends on what you're going for. Sometimes on certain cars, like stock cars and stuff like that, you want to be able to see the edges of the decals, you know, because that's how they looked in real life. They looked like they had decals put on, and you could see the edges and stuff, you know, over top of the paint. But in other cases, you want to have it all look like it's all been painted and everything. So it just all depends on what you're going for. But that's the method that I use for doing that. Let's see, we've got NW Model Works with us tonight here too. Nice to see you. Federation Shipyard's asking about our Battlestar Galactica. I've been doing a little bit of work on that one. I've been putting together little segments at a time so I can go ahead and release a new video and show a little bit on that. And hopefully for next week's show, we'll show you a nice update. I've been doing a lot of like really tedious lighting work on it, using some miniature SMDs. Like I talked about when we were talking about the build plan, the word that's the raised letters that say the word Galactica up on the forward part of the landing bays. I had to use some really tiny miniature SMDs. They're number 404. If you look those up on Jerry's website at HDA Model Works, you'll see that they're like almost, I mean, they're tinier than almost as tiny as the tip of a needle, and they're, you know, rectangular shaped. And what I did is I laid them on their sides so that they would face downward towards the the Galactica name. And when you turn the lighting on that, it gives that nice shadow, just like you saw the model on the television show where that word is lit up really nice, like they're sort of underneath of a street lamp looking thing. And you know, I had seen it. Other people try to do it with like fiber optics and stuff, and fiber optics doesn't work for that because the fiber doesn't put off enough light from the side, you know, and you don't want to bring those up and then bend them over. You know, you'd see that. So it turned out really nice with these 404s because there was actually some detail there of where these little light fixtures already were in place on the model. So I just shaved those down and replaced them with these, and they were like the exact same size. So they're super tiny, and when the lighting is turned off, when you look at the model, you really can't even see that they're there. It's like they're not even there. They don't stick up really high or anything. You can't see any of the wiring or any of that, but we'll show you an update on that next week. And I've just been going through and doing all the tedious Aztec panel work that I gave you guys a little update on a couple of weeks ago, and so it's not much new to show you there. It's just going to take hours and hours and hours of doing that. So by the time we get to next week, I should have some more of the structure work done and everything, and we'll show you that lighting that we got done and all that, and that'll be something substantial to show you guys in the update. Once all those little tedious little detail things are done, then the model is going to start going together really fast, because it's just a matter of gluing the big pieces together and everything, and getting it mounted on a mounting rod, and it'll be pretty much done here. So I'm thinking another couple of weeks and this thing will be wrapped up. We had Grayson Peoples here. She was with us tonight too. Nice to see you, Grayson. She's signing off for the night. Okay, looks like I'm pretty much down to the bottom of the list here. And if you guys have any more questions, fire them away. Otherwise, we're going to call this thing a wrap. I've got a couple more people checking in here. I've got Stephen Baker, Bill Tilley's here. Nice to see you, Bill. And thanks again, Bill, for posting those pictures of the Blue Thunder on the page. We really appreciate that. I've been putting those to good use. Nice to see the, I found a lot of pictures of the exterior, but finding pictures of the interior of the cockpit, that was really helpful. See what colors they actually used in there. Just going to scroll through here one more time, guys, see if I missed anything. Chris was talking about the Chris Cortell talking about the rust that always gets in your eyes when you, or in your mouth when you're working underneath your car. That rust, yeah, that's the rust, Chris. I've been there, done that. The nice thing is, since I moved down here to Texas, and I don't do much of it anymore, but when I was working on a lot of cars down here, they don't rust down here. The closer you get to the coast, you'll see some kind of rusty cars, but the cars around this area are like totally rust-free. It's amazing. The vinyl tops are totally destroyed, and the tops of the seats of the cars are destroyed from the sun getting to them, but the metal parts in the car are like brand new. So that was a really nice change of pace. Even, I'm sure you guys up north that have worked on old cars will know that you used to have liquid wrench handy all the time for breaking loose any bolts and stuff like that. These things down here, I mean, it's like they were put together yesterday. They just come right apart. It's really amazing. Okay, guys, it looks like quite a few people are getting ready to call it a night, and I'm ready to do the same thing, guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. Again, please don't forget, give us a thumbs up if you liked what you saw tonight. We really appreciate that. We'll be back next week for episode 73. We're really getting up there now. We're going to be at 100 before we know it. The weeks just kept going by. And I've got a lot of work to do in the shop this week on our client builds, and hopefully I'll get enough time to get some more work done on the Blue Thunder. But we've got a lot in store for next week's show. We'll have part 2 of the weathering painting guide, and we're going to be doing another out-of-the-box kit review. And we've got a couple other more things on tap. We should have a nice update on the Battlestar Galactica for you. And but like we talked about earlier, guys, keep sending us those pictures of your builds. We really appreciate that. And after a couple weeks, I should be able to get another slideshow put together. And we really enjoy sharing that with everybody, guys. So we're going to call this one a wrap. All right, everyone. Well, as we usually say, take care out there, everybody. And above all else, happy modeling, everyone. And good night.